you found this video because you need to fix your dryer timer, then go ahead and down in the description you can skip forward to where I actually replaced that part. Now the reason I made this video is because my dryer was only drying on high and not low, and so this could have been a number of issues. And so the way I usually diagnose these kind of problems is I do what I call exploratory surgery, where I try changing out the different parts that I think will help until it works again and see if that fixes the problem. So finally, last thing I tried, the actual dryer timer. So it's possible that whatever's wrong with your dryer is probably the same thing, and it could actually be caused by one of these other fuses or fuse and thermostat, high limit cutoff. And if it is one of these other things, then go ahead and just follow me in the video and I'll see how I replaced almost every single one of them, including the heating element, fuse and high limit cutoff and thermostat in there. Show you how to replace every single one of those. Notice that clothes aren't quite getting dry on one of the settings on the dryer. It seems that the high heat works, high heat time dry works, but it's the low heat doesn't seem to be getting the clothes dry. And some of the troubleshooting as far as making sure your lint trap is cleaned and also where it exits on the back. I just did that not too long ago so that I know that's clean. So now we're going to do some exploratory surgery to try and find out what's going on. All right, so we're just going to take out these apparently 3/4 inch bolts. They're all around this back paneling, so we can look behind there. Okay, so what I've decided to do in the way of exploratory surgery is to just test out one of the sensors and thermal fuses. So I've looked at this diagram I found online, and it just seems like with what's happening with my dryer, it seems most likely to me that it's probably the high limit sensor. So it's this one on top. So I just found one online that matches my dryer's model number and ordered it. And so I'm going to put it in there and see if it works. And if it does, the blind squirrel has found a nut. And if it doesn't, try something else. But these things you got to know. If you go to the manufacturer, they want like $50 for this thing. I found it on Amazon for like $4. After shipping, it was like $10, $11. Always check Amazon first. Here we go. We're going to get in there and replace this and see if that fixes things. Okay, first thing you should do is make sure to go ahead and unplug this thing. We are messing with live electricity back here, and once we start taking off the back, it is pretty dangerous. There's a lot of exposed wires back there. Also, you might want to get your kids off the dryer. Hey, get down. First thing we're going to do is just take off all this back panel here. There's just bolts all the way around. Just take all those out and it comes right off. Unfortunately, you are going to have to remove the exhaust hose. Just taking this clamp off right here. Just loosen that. The whole thing's going to slide right off. This is one thing that you need to make sure is clean. Just take this whole panel off. And then so here's what we got in the back. It's kind of hard to get back far enough so you can see this, but all your electrical stuff comes in here. There is, at least in my dryer, if you take this panel off back here, there is a wiring diagram, but it's, to be honest, it's a little above my head. And so it tells you the path of all these wires. What you have here is a high limit cutoff. This one is a cycling thermostat, and this is a thermal fuse. This powers the heating element, and then this one right here is a thermostat. Judging by the problem with my dryer that it won't heat on low, but it will heat on high, as I'm thinking it's probably this high limit cutoff. So that's what we're going to try. We're just going to pull that out. Other videos will tell you to get out your multimeter and you can check for continuity. Again, I'm just going to be completely honest. I'm not familiar enough with the multimeter to know what I'm looking for. It's like continuity when we have power, when we don't have power, when it's heated, when it's not, how many ohms or whatever. I'm just not totally sure about all that. And so with my style of DIY work, it's, a lot of times these parts, like this high limit cutoff, only cost me $4. So why not pull it out and put a new one in and see if that works? To continue explaining this, this back piece here is where the heating element is. So the heating elements run back and forth and the electricity heats up the heating element, and the airflow is going this way and sucking it into your dryer from inside. You could see it in there. So the hot air is coming out of here, going in there, drying your clothes, and it's sucked out through here. And there's a fan right there. That's another thing you might want to check, is that fan working. Mine definitely is, because I get cool air and then blowing it through here and out. Kind of the basics back here. Let's go ahead and pull that off, put the new one on, and see what happens. Just one little bolt right here, and then 2 plugs. So when I unplugged those, it just came right out. I'm not gonna throw this away. I'm just gonna keep it, just in case that wasn't. Let's pull this down here, down at the bottom. Just unplug it here and here. Once you unplug from here and here, then this part just needs to slide off there, just with a screwdriver. That top hole right there wants to hang on a peg inside. You just need to slide that on there, but also get this to hook inside there at the same time. There, it wasn't too hard. Turns out this piece right there fits very tight, and so I'm trying to push at the base of it so as not to bend anything. So let's just plug this back in right like that. All right, so I came out here and put it on the low heat. Obviously, when the door is not shut and you got to check in there, we got to hold the door latch with our hand and push this at the same time. And I reached in there, felt for a while, still not getting any heat. So that means this time the blind squirrel did not find a nut. However, I did order the wrong part. I ordered the thermostat and not the high limit sensor like I thought I did. So that just goes to show me the thermostat was probably working just fine. Maybe I can put the old thermostat back in and just save the new one in case I need it or something, or save this one, it doesn't matter. I guess now I will attempt to order myself a high limit sensor again, high limit cutoff, and we'll try again when I get that. All right, so we're back here again. This time I think I got the right piece, the high limit cutoff. So actually this is going to be pretty easy just to replace. This top sensor here is the high limit cutoff. It's just 2 pieces that plug in there and 1 little screw there. So once that screw comes out, that little piece hooks in there, that's all. And just an FYI, when you're ordering these parts, again, I'm calling this a high limit cutoff because it's what I've seen somewhere else online. So definitely double check what these are called before you order. A good rule of thumb for ordering parts is look at your manual to see what model type your dryer is and look up the right parts that go with it. Also, like the parts all have numbers. This number right here is the one for my dryer, and when I type that in to a Google search, it actually comes up with this piece. Like, it's just that specific of a number. So we finally got the right piece, and we're just gonna hook it in there like this and put that little screw back in right there. It's nice and tight, and just plug these guys back on there. And that really should be all we have to do. So we're going to go ahead and plug it back in and test it. Just a reminder, if I haven't said so already, you want to be really careful back here, because here is where your 220 comes in. And those are live wires right there. So when it's plugged in, don't touch any. And also, I believe there's live current going through the heating coils. Just in case you're messing with your heating coils, you got to push the door switch. So after trying out a new high limit cutoff to no avail, and then trying just the general thermostat to no avail, my next try is going to be the thermal fuse. I'm just going to put a new one in and see if that solves our problem. And so this one's really easy. Just pull these wires off and then unscrew that little screw right there. I'm really not familiar with how these type of fuses work. They're a lot different than the regular kind of fuse. The one on the left is the old one, the one on the right's new. So I do see that black stuff in the middle there is definitely different on the old one, so maybe that's what happened. That little back part right there just kind of slides over the edge of the groove there. Actually, we'll just kind of sit there. Now just plug them back in. And we're going to give it a try. Strike 3, that didn't work, and so I put the old one back in. The next thing I'm going to try is the cycling thermostat. We'll see if that's the problem. So this one has 4 wires that need to be unplugged. pull all those off, and luckily they'll kind of stay where they're supposed to be, so we won't forget where they go. All right, so I just was able to pry by trying not to break anything, just pry them off like that. And then there's one screw right there. All I can see that makes any difference is there's 2 dots there and none there. The old one has a little bitty X right there. Just gonna slide that side in there like that. And when I lay it back, the screw goes in the left side right there. Our cycling thermostat is now on, our new one. Let's try this out. Well, strike 4, still have no low heat. So my last ditch effort is to try the actual heating element. To remove the heating element, it's inside this bottom piece here. So first we're gonna unplug where it actually plugs into the heating element right there. Then we have to unplug the thermostat here and here. So I'm just gonna pry from behind. And it just comes out. There's 2 of these screws here and one on that side. And now it just slides straight down. And it definitely is black compared to the new one. The new one definitely looks nice and shiny. So reverse of what we just did. I'm just gonna angle it under right there and then slide it up. And just line up our screw holes. So once those screws are in, just put our thermostat back on, and it just slides over that little hook there. And you plug that side in, and that's what holds it on there. Plug the element back in. The thermostat plugs back on. Let's try this out. So just all these little screws here. So right behind the panel, this is the timer. Also, if I haven't mentioned it, go ahead and unplug. The first thing you're going to want to do is just pull this knob straight off. And then this is held on by just these 2 here, and then plugs. So these are just plugs. Just slide these off. And then this one has one of those little clips right here. You just want to push that down with a screwdriver and then pull. So I just slipped my screwdriver under this and just lifted just a little bit to be able to slide this plug out. Gotta be really careful with that because I've broken these kind of plugs a million times. Just barely tilt up a little bit, then pull out, and then that's the last plug, and we have the old timer off. All right, so pretty straightforward. The new timer, we just want to plug it in. Luckily, they make these things so specific that you can't get them wrong. Now I just gotta install it back in. And there's 2 little nubs right there on either side of the switch. And they're gonna sit in those holes. And then to hold it in place, so if I can get the screws in, I'm gonna go ahead and put the knob back on. And there's a little flat spot. These kind of switches always have what fits on the flat spot of the stem here. Before we get the panel back on, let's test it out. All right, we just tested it and we finally got it working. So for any of you out there having a dryer that is not heating on low but is on high, it could be any of the thermostats. I don't know, but for us, it turned out to be the timer. The timer was still working, like still timing, but it just wasn't heating the element, I guess. So there we go. All we got to do is put this back panel back on. Just put those screws back in and we'll be back in business.
Save money, learn stuff, do it yourself.
And so the way I kind of